The rain was falling hard that night, the kind of storm that makes the roads shine like sheets of black glass. Michael had just finished his second job stacking shelves at a small grocery store and was driving his rusty old pickup down the quiet country road. His two daughters, Lily, age 10, and Emily, just 7, were asleep in the backseat, their tiny heads resting on each other's shoulders. He looked at them through the rearview mirror, and felt that familiar ache in his chest. He wanted to give them the world, but right now, all he could give was love, and sometimes love didn't feel like enough. Michael had been raising the girls alone, since his wife passed away 3 years ago. She had been the light of his life, the glue that held their family together. When cancer took her, Michael's world crumbled, but he promised her on her hospital bed that he would take care of their daughters, no matter what. Every day since then had been a test of that promise. As the rain poured harder, Michael squinted through the windshield, his wipers barely keeping up. That's when he saw a car pulled to the side of the road, its hazard lights blinking weakly through the storm. He slowed down, curiosity tugging at him. Then he noticed movement, a woman trying to step out of the vehicle, only to stumble and fall to the ground. Without thinking twice, Michael pulled over. He jumped out into the rain, his boots splashing in puddles, and rushed to her side. She was clutching her leg, wincing in pain. Her sleek black car was dented, as if it had skidded, and hit the guardrail. "Ma'am, are you all right?" Michael asked, his voice firm but kind. She looked up, drenched and shivering, her mascara streaked down her cheeks. I think my ankle's broken. I can't stand." Michael didn't waste a second. He gently helped her up, cradling her arm around his shoulder. She was trembling, not just from the cold, but from shock. He carried her to his truck, and laid her across the front seat. The girls stirred awake, their eyes wide at the sight of the stranger. "Daddy, is she okay?" Emily whispered. "She will be," Michael assured, pulling off his own jacket, and wrapping it around the injured woman. The nearest hospital was 20 minutes away. Michael gripped the steering wheel, driving through sheets of rain, while glancing at her. She was in obvious pain, but kept trying to thank him between sharp breaths. "You don't need to thank me," Michael said. Anyone would have stopped, but deep down, he knew that wasn't true. Too many people drove past suffering, thinking it wasn't their problem. For him, it wasn't even a choice. He couldn't ignore someone in need. At the hospital, doctors rushed her in. Michael carried her purse inside, sat with his daughters in the waiting room, and didn't leave until he knew she was safe. Hours passed. Finally, a nurse told him she was stable, and wanted to see him. In the room, she looked different, her hair damp but brushed back, her ankle wrapped. She smiled weakly. "You saved me out there." "I don't even know your name, Michael," he said softly. "These are my girls, Lily and Emily." Her eyes softened as she looked at them. "I'm Catherine." "Thank you, Michael." "If you hadn't stopped," she trailed off, shaking her head. He shrugged it off, embarrassed by her gratitude. "I'm just glad you're okay." Before he left, she tried to press money into his hand, but he refused. "Take care of yourself," he said simply, then guided his girls out into the morning light. Michael thought that was the end of it. But it wasn't. 2 days later, there was a knock at his door. When he opened it, Catherine was standing there with crutches, a chauffeured car idling at the curb, and a bouquet of flowers in her arms. His daughters gasped. "I had to find you," Catherine said, smiling. "I don't usually meet guardian angels on the side of the road." Michael blushed, scratching the back of his neck. "I'm no angel. Just a guy doing what's right." But Catherine saw more than he realized. She saw the way his home was humble, the way his daughters peeked out shyly from behind his legs, the way his eyes carried a quiet heaviness. She stayed longer than she intended, sitting with them, laughing with the girls, learning their names and little quirks. She hadn't laughed like that in years. Catherine was a millionaire, a self-made businesswoman who owned a chain of wellness centers across the state. But wealth had come at the cost of isolation. She lived in a mansion that felt more like a prison, surrounded by staff, but empty of love. Michael and his daughters, with their warmth and closeness, reminded her of something money could never buy. Over the next weeks, she visited often. She insisted on taking them out to the park, to dinner, to the zoo. She bought the girls books and clothes, but more importantly, she gave them her time. And slowly, Michael began to realize she wasn't just being generous out of gratitude. She was lonely too. One evening, after Michael had tucked the girls into bed, Catherine lingered on the porch. The sunset painted the sky in shades of pink and orange. She turned to him, her voice quiet. "You know, when I crashed that night I thought I was done. I've spent so long chasing success, I forgot what it was all for. Then you appeared. You and your daughters. You saved me in more ways than one." Michael looked at her, his chest tightening. "Catherine, I don't have much to offer. Just a simple life, a roof barely over our heads. But you're welcome in it, anytime." Her eyes glistened. For the first time in years, she felt like someone saw her not as a millionaire, not as a businesswoman, but as a person who needed family, love, and belonging. Their bond grew naturally, beautifully. Catherine became part of their lives, and they became part of hers. She didn't just help them financially, though she did insist on fixing their crumbling roof and getting the girls proper schooling. She gave them her heart. And in return, she received something she had been missing all along, a family. The woman Michael had rescued by chance on a rainy night by the roadside ended up rescuing him, too, from loneliness, from despair, from believing his daughter's future would always be limited. Months later, as they sat together around the dinner table, Michael, his daughters giggling with Catherine, their home glowing with warmth he hadn't felt in years, he realized that sometimes the greatest miracles come disguised as ordinary acts of kindness. All he had done was stop his truck that night. And in doing so, he had changed, not just her life, but his own, and his daughter's, forever. Because love has a way of finding us even on the darkest roads, in the middle of the heaviest storms. If you believe kindness can change lives, just like Michael's did, subscribe, and stay with us for